In the last couple of episodes, I've been looking at different perceptions, ideas, ideologies from key people around the world. And I decided to contact an old friend, if I can call him that, if he considers me a friend, Nader Khan. He's in Toronto, in Canada, to tell me what's happening in Canada, how are things going. I also want to catch up with his career and his latest releases. So it's just a nice catch up, especially now that we cannot see each other, Nader. We can see each other, but we cannot see each other at all.
Yes. I mean, even if I was there in Cape Town, which is easily one of my favorite cities in the world. I fell in love with it when I got there 5 years ago. So even if I was there in person, we wouldn't be able to, give you a high five, let alone give you an Eid embrace.
No, of course, yes. Now, the funny thing is that Cape Town is in the province that is not performing too well when it comes to coronavirus.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, so we're in the Western Cape.
SubhanAllah.
Yeah, and so it's one of the poorer performing provinces, and it's the Western Cape. I've been calling it Wuhan province. Some people have been getting upset with me for calling it that, but they don't want to listen. So what am I supposed to do? They don't want to listen. Social distancing means getting closer to each other for some people, and that's a problem. You know what I'm saying? So how's things been going with you? We haven't chatted for a while. You haven't been to South Africa for a while.
I haven't. I think the first and last time I came there was in, I believe, August of 2015.
Is it that long?
Yeah, I mean, Joburg and Durban were great, but Cape Town, man, I fell in love with it. For me, that's like, I told my wife when I came back, I said, that's like a romantic Hajj. Like, if you want to make a romantic pilgrimage to anywhere in the world, go to Cape Town.
I'm really honored that you're saying that. Thank you. And I hope to visit Toronto one day and perhaps say something about your city.
You have a place to stay when you come here.
Thank you. It's been a while that we have caught up, and you've been doing a lot of things. I've been watching on the side, and then I know that you had contacted me when my mom passed away, but I've been in such a little tailspin, which we'll talk about when we meet, that I haven't responded to half the things, and some days I want to respond and some days I don't want to respond. It's just, we'll talk about it one day. Having said that, I want to just touch a bit on your career, where you're at, what's your latest releases, and some of your philosophies and ideologies around some of the things going on. But I'm going to start off with some of the things happening in the world right now. And I want to maybe plug that into the fact that I know that many songwriters and many artists, they generally find inspiration in that which are circumstantial and that which are experiential at times, and that which is environmental at times, if I can put it that way. And I'm wondering how that eventually plugs into some of your latest works, knowing this dynamic change in the world. But let me start off with, what's the situation in Canada?
Well, the trouble with answering that question is just how big a place Canada is. Second largest landmass in the world. So there's a lot of, every city has a different flavor. But in Toronto and the Toronto area, there's like mixed feelings about what's going on and how it's being received. But generally, people are, level-headed. People are, in the Muslim community and in the community of people of other faiths and of no faith. People are being considerate. People are being level-headed. Supermarkets and other stores are going out of their way to accommodate these things by arranging for home delivery of groceries. They're like major stores, right? When people are waiting outside to go in, to the entrance, everybody's waiting with the 6 feet apart. And when you get to the door, one of the employees at the supermarket has like a freshly sanitized shopping cart for you. People are really going out of the way and then some stores that are shut down for people to come in are doing curbside pickup, where you place an order on the internet or on the phone, you come by, you pick it up, and they bring it out to you. But one thing that really becomes clear is that the people who we have hired for working in supermarkets, right? They are quite honestly coming out as the heroes of the moment, where they are going out of the way to help people, right? They're just being very, very helpful and very considerate and very accommodating. Now, something just happened recently, which is like, turned into a tempest in a teapot, is that many communities here, because Muslims are no longer, going into masjids, so many cities have permitted the broadcasting of the Maghrib Adhan on the loudspeaker outside the masjid, right? Doesn't happen. Like, there's no Adhan that is heard outside the masjid on a loudspeaker, but cities have, as a gesture of, acceptance, and only for Ramadan, right? That, you can hear Salat, the Adhan for Maghrib outside the masjid. And that has turned into this whole circus of, just like all these, Islamophobic bigots coming out from under their rocks to, rail against everybody from RSS to, the far right, to some Muslim sellouts. Everybody in their cha-cha is out, right?
But there's nothing else to do, Nader. During this situation, there's nothing else to do than make trouble. I mean, there's enough time on your hand, There's nothing else to do. I mean, come on, go and sleep a little bit, wake up, look for some trouble, go sleep again,
Like, honestly, these people get up in the morning, I'm like, what can I mess up today?
Exactly. I mean, there's nothing to do.
Alhamdulillah, but beyond that, just the community in general, the city in general, Toronto is my favorite city in the world, and it's a beautiful place to be just because of the way the people are, and it's generally very, very considerate sort of atmosphere here, very accommodating, very people are looking out for each other. Even neighborhoods when you go, people coming out of the homes, going to their next door neighbors, keeping social distancing, but telling them, look, we are here if you ever need us for any emergency in the middle of the night, whatever, right? That's really cool to see. Alhamdulillah.
So that's good. And then you on the personal side, how has the adjustment been to you? Because as an artist, I'm sure that one travels, one engages with lots of people, and so that has all changed. So two things could be happening here. One is that, and these are my assertions at this point, one is that the amount of steps that you're doing every day is problematic. I know it's Ramadan, so you're not eating, but if it was out of Ramadan, you'd probably be in the kitchen every 5 minutes. So there's a lot of lifestyle changes that has happened. How are you dealing with that, and also being confined? How are you taking to that?
Well, confined is not a problem because, my studio is at home. So we turned the garage into a recording studio, right? So my office and my studio are at home. And so from my bedroom to my office is a 30-second walk, right? And generally, it's good that we're on a lockdown, because then I don't look rude when I don't go out to meet people. Because, that's the kind of person, I just sit and I get my work done, right? When I'm in my studio, the world nothing exists anymore, right? It's just me and my work, and, working on a song, recording the next song, writing something, listening to something, reading something. So when I'm in my studio, like nothing else matters, right? So being confined is not as much an issue, because even my wife, she works from home as well. But what has happened is March, April, May, June, July, all my gigs from these months have been canceled.
Of course.
Right? So, and as an artist, for me, that's what keeps this operation afloat. This is what keeps it sustainable, right? And so when artists have their gigs canceled, it has a real impact.
Of course.
But alhamdulillah, the government has been really good in looking out for its people. And supporting us, and also alhamdulillah that I can sort of divert my work in other areas, but there are some people who have been hit really hard, and that's unfortunate. But yeah, I'm not traveling as much, I'm not performing live as much, but I'm doing some online events.
Did you ever notice that perhaps during this time, and this is something that I've been experiencing, and I'm not sure if everybody's going through the same process, but during this time, one feels that you actually have more resilience than you thought you do have. That's something that I that I perceived from my own
Uh,
existence. And number two, I picked up that perhaps I was one of the people complaining all these years that mankind and human beings are just racing, racing, racing. So they're rushing in the
mm,
morning, rushing back. But you know how my sheikh and my spiritual guide had said? He said that when man has won, then he wants to put a zero next to it. So he's got 10. And when he's got 10, then he puts another zero next to it, so he's got 100. And the minute he's got that, then he needs to put. But in the end of the day, he's working for zeros. He's just adding on zeros. So, so,
Allah.
yeah. So in the end of the day, think about this. I know we need to work. I know
Yeah,
we need to do what we do. But at some point, if you just take yourself, Nader, take yourself out of your daily existence, and let's just say you died and you raised up to heaven and you were looking down, would you just not
uh,
think what chaos is all of this? What chaos is all of this? And sometimes, I don't know, it's just my feeling that whoever started it or whoever didn't start it, that's another debate. But at some point, we perhaps just needed to stop so that we're able to reflect and press the reset button
yeah,
sometimes that we wanted to press. How do you perceive that? What's your
yeah.
thoughts?
Well, you hit the nail on the head, right? Like just this go sort of chasing zeros, right? Worshipping zeros, chasing zeros, and you're right in that if you were to sort of rise above it all and sort of get disembodied and rise above it and look at everything from the top, it is chaos, isn't it? It is. It's not. It's futile chaos. It's chaos for no reason and to achieve nothing. Because, like, really, what are you going to take with you, right? And how will you stand in front of God and answer for yourself for all the nonsense that you've done to get another zero, right? It's just so futile. Like it really hits you just how futile things are that people are running after at breakneck speed. Because look, they say Sufi is the son of his moment. He is in the present at all times, always in the present, here and now with God, right? So, and the devil's job is to either make you live in the past or to live in the future. So that if you're living in the future, you're never really grateful for what you have right now. All you're thinking about is, what am I going to do next? Where am I going to get another zero from? Like you said, right?
Correct.
And so these are so either people who are always either living in the future, who don't have gratitude, and people who are always living in the past, who are like, this should have happened and that should have happened and this should have happened and that should have happened. But ultimately, it's all futile. Just like, be who you are, where you are, when you are, right? And you're right in that you do get a deeper sense of, like, we are a lot more resilient than we think we are. I mean, first of all, in North America, the 25% of the world's population consuming 75% of the world's food, that's a problem to begin with.
Wait, you need to
Right?
repeat that again.
And then,
Can you repeat that again?
sorry?
Can you repeat that one again?
No, yeah, I mean, it's 25% of the world's population consuming 75% of the world's food, right? Not just in North
It's not
America,
only
but in
phenomenal.
the so-called developed countries.
It's not only a phenomenal
Yeah,
and
it
astounding
is.
figure. It's also a disgusting figure.
Here's the other figure, right? The garbage cans here eat better food than 40% of the world's population. Like, stuff like this really hits you, right? And I've been working with food insecurity and stuff for a while now on my social social activist side. And these are figures that are, you're right, it's disgusting, but it's like, it's as if this is the Ramadan for the whole world. But in Ramadan, you eat a little bit of food and it suffices you for the whole day, and you're struck with this realization: you really didn't need that much food, did you? Right? You get through the day, okay. You're alive at the end of the day. Like, it's 4:30 in the morning over here in Toronto. I just finished Sehri, right? For Sehri, all I had was a tub of yogurt, right? 750 milliliters of yogurt, and I'm good for the whole day.
And under normal circumstances, you're 100% right. You would probably wondering on a normal morning how much eggs and everything else, and then while you're busy with that, you're busy designing lunch and while you're busy with lunch, you're designing supper.
Yes,
And that's what it
yes.
is.
And the other thing is, right? You're thinking about that, and the other thing is, if you're in the present, you're thinking about how it could have been better had something else been there. Oh, you know what? It would have been so much better if I had this condiment with the sandwich. Just eat the bloody sandwich,
Correct,
right?
yes. It has brought us back down to basics. And maybe it was just time. I'm saying this now, I'm
Mm.
telling everybody this. I'm saying that, that it's okay for us to go through the pandemic. I understand that there are
Mm.
casualties. I understand that people are dying. But if you don't sit down and take something out
Yeah,
of this going forward, then you're losing double. You're losing double because you're not taking
yeah,
something out of a situation that you possibly can.
yeah,
Your career, you mentioned your career early on, and I think everybody's careers is under pressure, and everyone tries to find that workaround in terms of how
mm.
you're going to deal with all of that. But I just want to catch up a little bit with you on some of the latest work. So you're planning anything new that could potentially also speak about the current situations that we find ourselves in.
I see. There's usually there's when there's profane music and there's sacred music, right? So when we're in the realm of sacred music, there's music that is like social commentary. Sometimes it's purely devotional. My work happens to be almost exclusively devotional in its content. At the same time, it's devotion does have this impact in the real world, right? So my songs generally focus on something positive. Generally, I mean, if you look at historically, in the time of Maulana Jalaluddin Rumi and Yunus Emre and Amir Khusro and all of these people, with all of these things that were happening around them in the world. I mean, Maulana Jalaluddin Rumi, his family was Afghan. They fled from Afghanistan to Turkey because of the Mongol phenomenon that was happening across the Muslim world, right? But in all of these people's poetry, you never heard anything about war and sadness or anything. They sang songs of hope. They wrote poems of hope and love in times of turmoil. And for me, that is especially important today. Tika, great. There's a not great, obviously. I mean, there's a pandemic happening. People who are. I have lost friends in this thing. I've lost, one of my most favorite people in the UK, my mentor, a teacher, a dear friend. He passed away recently because of this, right? And other people like people in the extended circle of friends. But we need to focus on hope. We need to focus on something positive. We need to focus on something to pull us out of depression. And so a song that I had been working on for about 11 years. We just put out a new single that just came out first of Ramadan, and as of this recording, it is available at my website naderkhan.com. And inshallah, about a week from now, hopefully it should be available on Spotify and iTunes and everywhere else as well. It's called Love Always Works. It focuses on, it's a very short song, but we try to keep it upbeat, try to keep it hope focused and love focused, and I think people will like it, inshallah.
Looking forward to hearing that. I know that you sent me a preview and that sounded quite nice. I'm hoping to just tail the show with some of that for our audience. Now, you mentioned something critical. Part of what we're getting when I look at our viewer comments and that sort of thing is that, well, the virus doesn't exist. Why did you buy into the fact that it exists? So these are some of the comments I get as a television host. I'm quite okay with comments on both sides of the spectrum, but when it comes to non-factual comments, then that needs to be ratified. Now, you'd mentioned that somebody close to you had passed away.
Yeah.
What would be your message to the people that contact the show that says, that's all lies, nobody has died, this is all just a big conspiracy and you bought into it? What's your message to them?
See, there's an Islamic science called the science of transmission, right? We base our understanding of the transmission of hadith and even the transmission of Quran based on the science of transmission, right? And so, when you okay, here, have you ever been to China?
No, I've always wanted to go, but no, closest was Thailand.
But hold on. But you believe with certainty that a place called China exists.
Correct.
But you've never been there.
Correct.
Why? Why do you believe that?
Interesting one, and I love where you're going with this.
It's like this, right? Like in when you look at the gradation of hadith, right? You have Hasan, then you have Sahih, and you have all of the different grades of hadith. There's a grade of hadith called Mutawatir. Mutawatir is these are words that have been spoken by the Prophet ﷺ without any doubt, like a higher grade than Sahih. And one of the reasons why you conclude that a certain narration is Mutawatir is the very idea that you had a whole bunch of people come and sit together and concoct a lie is silly, right? Because it comes through so many different transmissions, right? That the very idea is absurd that all of these people sat together and made a lie. Why? Right? So, I mean, the reason you believe that a place like China exists is because the very idea that, millions of people came together and wrote about it or traveled to it, took pictures, posted on the internet, wrote books, travel, like maps. It's absurd to think that somebody made that up, right? It's also very, how should I say this? It's also very conceited for you to think that you're so important that millions of people are working day and night to fool you.
Correct.
For some reason. For some unknown reason.
I love how you're putting that. I just love how you put it.
Like you're really not that important.
Correct.
So I mean it's I mean because it's like it's a whole philosophical question, right? If I don't see it, it doesn't exist. If I'm not convinced of something, it doesn't exist. Well, no. If you're not convinced of something, it's also possible that you're just plain ignorant about it, right?
Well, I think a big part of it is that.
Sorry?
A big part of it is ignorance, of course.
Yeah, I mean, but that's what it comes down to, right? Like you really think you're so important that millions of people are going to sit together and make a lie. No. I mean, there's something else that's missing here. And you have if we understand what mutawatir means, and the Quran is mutawatir because the sheer number of chains of transmission, after that, for you to sit and think somebody made this up, it's mind-boggling, right? That it's absurd. So in the same way, you have hundreds of millions of people around the world telling you that, look, this is something that you should take seriously. It's a virus. It's killing people. Take it seriously.
Of course. In conclusion, thank you for joining me on the show. But in conclusion, what's your message to our audience watching the show right now? I think that people in South Africa and anywhere around the world, they are panicked at the moment. Some people are not certain. The big word is uncertainty that floats in the air through careers, through medical science, through various other areas of life. People's futures, they have these ideas that they're going to get married and have 500 children by the time they're 20 and all of those things, all that has changed. So that's all happening in people's heads right now. With all of that, what is your advice to our global citizens?
I have two things that I wanted to share with everybody that I sort of am realizing in a very, very powerful manner during this whole episode. The first thing is the Prophet ﷺ said that when the hour comes upon you and you have a sapling in your hand that you're planting, continue to plant it, right? So, like the day of judgment, which every single prophet has told their people about since the beginning of time. The day of judgment is upon you, and you are doing something that is seemingly futile, but it's beautiful. Continue doing it, even though it seems hopeless. Because it seems to me that, what you're doing isn't as important as that you're doing. Right? To be involved in the process is much more important than the process producing results. So, great. Okay, all of these things are happening. Don't lose focus on what the beautiful things that you're doing. Don't lose focus of, something good that you're doing that people will benefit from. Even if they don't benefit from, the fact that you're doing it is something at least you're benefiting from. Right? Number one. Number two, we really don't have as much time as we think we do have. We don't. Right? When I was 20, I had eternity. I'm 44 right now. And, it really hits you that, but all of this, I don't know if last time, Allah, if God forbid something was to happen to me, right? Ever since this whole pandemic began, I was thinking, oh my God, I have so many other songs to record. I want to leave these songs behind before I go. Because, I want these songs to continue benefiting people. The songs about the Prophet ﷺ, right? I want to leave these behind before I go. I have so much more to do. I have so many moments that I want to spend with my kids. I have extended family, that I need to connect with. I have friends who I haven't spoken to in years. My kids, my parents. You really don't have as much time as you really think you do. Connect with people, reconnect with people, reach out to people, apologize, ask for forgiveness, forgive others, don't sit on projects that you think you will do someday. Get things done. We really don't have as much time as we think we do.
Nader Khan, a songwriter, artist, social activist, giving us some of his perceptions and ideas of what he thinks is going on in the world, and how I just wanted to get his work plugged into all of that, because I know that artists at times draw their inspiration from things that are happening around the world. And at times, when there's nowhere else to turn to, we normally turn to a book, we turn to a little track or a song. And so we depend on people like you to sometimes bring us out of those depths.
We came to dream. We live to act. We live and die. Upon this pack. We can't go wrong. We won't be left. Habib, he resides. Within our chests. To do the love always works. 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 Don't you see that he wanted this? To do the he made it be. Yeah. He opened hearts to finally see his light and his love is inside us all. To do this here is the path. This here is the lover's call. We can't go wrong. We won't be left. To do Habib, he resides. Within our chests. To do the love always works. To do the love always works. To do the love always works. To do